Now, fast forward to 2023 when I've taken over the Maine Wire, and we had leaked to us this copy of a program integrity unit, a program integrity audit that had been done of Gateway Community Services. And we start to review these.
Which are, again, still not public? These audits are still not being made public?
None of these are public, except for the ones we've made public.
Sent it to you. Yes.
We've made these public.
Okay.
And we subsequently requested through the Freedom of Access Act all of these and ended up paying something like $3,000 or $4,000 to the state government in order to get these audits that had been done. And what we discovered was that the Mills administration was conducting these audits, finding fraud, waste, and abuse, deciding for inexplicable reasons that this was just accidental and not something that should be referred for fraud, and never publicizing them, not acting on them, and also in instances where they were where they found that there was what they call an overpayment, which I would call fraud, you would call fraud.
Sure.
Most Mainers would say that this was fraud, but they call it an improper payment. They would order them to pay back some amount of money, and they would allow them to pay that back through recoupments. So in Gateway Community Services instance, where they've been billing $5 million a year to Medicaid, and they are found in 3 separate state audits to have overbilled Medicaid, and then a whistleblower comes forward in our reporting and says that they're systematically defrauding Medicaid by just inventing claims from thin air. They have an assessment leveled against them, and they don't have to pay that back before they continue receiving more Medicaid money. They can deduct their repayments from future fraudulent claims.
Right,
so it's like, we're just going to take a 5% clip off your future fraud.
Yes, so you can keep getting paid. So the investigation really goes nowhere. They have to start paying back, but there's no consequence that says, you're not going to be able to do this in the future.
There have been, I think, 2 criminal referrals. And both of under the Mills administration, 2 criminal referrals. They admitted that in legislative testimony to the Department of Health and Human Services Committee. And I believe both of those began, the investigations began under the LePage administration. So what you see, the pattern that you see with Gateway Community Services specifically, but with Medicaid entities broadly, is when the Mills administration comes into power, the investigations happen, but then the criminal referrals stop. The audits are happening, and they go and they sit on a shelf and collect dust. And there might be some recoupment ordered against organizations like Spurwink or Sweetser. Some of the larger ones might be required to pay back their improper payments, but the smaller ones are never required to repay their money. And so as we dug deeper into the program integrity reviews, we became interested in the entire MaineCare system broadly and requested all of the provider payment data. And this gets into, I think, just a transparency issue with the state of Maine generally. The controller for the state of Maine posts every year an Excel spreadsheet file that shows you all of the vendor payments that the state has made. This should be every vendor that the state has paid. And it doesn't include Medicaid provider payments. So it's
a massive hole.
Exactly.
Hole
It's
in the system.
The controller is saying this is all the money the state's spending on vendors, but except for this $1.4 billion that we're not making public as a matter of just routine public transparency. So we obtained last year an Excel spreadsheet file that showed Medicaid payments by provider from 2019 to 2024. And then earlier this year, the federal government, the Trump administration, released a more detailed version of that file for the entire country. And we've been able to use large language models, AI tools like Claude, OpenAI, Grok, to analyze that data, find patterns that are suspicious, fraud indicators, I would say, and also compare Maine's Medicaid system to peers in other states. And what we find is shocking, very shocking. Maine is an outlier in every possible way that you can measure our Medicaid system. We are an outlier in a bad way that harms Mainers and leads to a lower quality of life.